Hi, everybody. So I'm inviting Gina Beach in to join us today. She is a student of the MS stage, so let me get her in here now while you guys begin to come in. Hope everyone's doing well on this President's Day. It is beautiful where I am. Okay, I've invited Gina in. Let's see if this works. Ah, there she is.
Hello.
Hello, Gina. Hi, we've got some people coming in slowly but surely.
Great.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm turning up the volume. Good.
Okay.
So I can hear you. I can get settled into you. Hi, everybody who's joining. Thank you for coming. It's President's Day here, so a lot of people are off in the U.S., which is good. So maybe people will come in and say hello and see us. I'll just start by introducing you.
Sure.
A little quick reading about Gina. Regina Beach is an American writer and adaptive yoga teacher living in the UK. She's the producer of the Living Well with MS podcast, and she's currently working on an oil-free vegan cookbook. You can read more about her and connect with her at reginagbeach.com. So thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me, Megan.
Absolutely. You look so nice today. It looks sunny. Is it sunny there?
No, it's overcast. Wales is it's a pretty rainy place. So yeah, no, it's all right. It's still light outside though. I'm just really grateful that even though it's 5 o'clock, we still have sunshine. So
and it's because there's more light in your room than I feel like I'm used to. I have behind me that I can't figure out how to get them off the screen. But anyway, so Gina and I met because I pitched the Living Well with MS podcast, and Gina was the producer of the podcast and has MS herself. And I said to her, "Hey, do you want to come to the MS stage?" And she said yes, and that was last fall. So Gina is a 2-time MS stager, I guess I can call you, and soon to be the 3rd time, which is super cool. So I wanted to have you come on just to kind of talk about your experience and what you have loved about it, and what's shifted in your life because of it, and in your journey with MS. So I'll just ask you a few questions. What originally drew you to the MS stage? Like, what were you struggling with, and what made you say, yes, I wanna get involved. This sounds cool.
Yeah, well, I am definitely a joiner. I've been part of other MS support groups, centered around poetry, centered around meditation. But this was the first group I had seen centered around this idea of like the stage and dancing and the body and movement and getting in touch with with your symptoms through movement, which was really cool. I did a lot of theater and dance growing up, and I really kind of thought that that part of me was going to be put on maybe permanent hiatus. I have quite a lot of disability. MS manifests itself in lots of different ways. I struggled to walk. And so when I first joined the MS stage, I did a lot of movement from my chair and really did a lot not on my feet because I couldn't. But that was one of the beauties of this program, is that it's actually really accessible to anyone with any amount of mobility issues. And so I think I stuck with it because it's so nice to be in a group of other women who just get it and understand, and there's just like a lot of time for chat. It's not like it's like a 2-hour dance class. This is not like a rigorous cardio workout. It is definitely more about being in tune with your body, which is something I know that I was really missing. Like that was a big missing component of my journey to living well with multiple sclerosis, that I'm really happy to have found the MS stage.
So glad. Thank you. It's been such a pleasure to have you as a part of it. And and to gain feedback from you too, because you do know so much, because Gina does some freelance work and is a producer for the as we said, the Living Well with MS podcast. So she knows a lot of people in the world and has read a lot and does a lot of research. So it's been really amazing to get her feedback and also to see her shifts, which have been pretty profound, which are super cool. And so you already were a yoga instructor before you got MS. Now you do adaptive yoga. And do you, and you also said before all that you used to love theater and dance, but what is your favorite part now, would you say, about the MS stage? Like, what do you enjoy? Well, I guess I should say, what do you enjoy about each different piece, like meditation, dance, and story sharing? Because we do all of those different pieces.
Yeah, and I would say that the style of meditation that you're teaching in the MS stage is really, really different, I think, than a lot of people's maybe preconceptions, or maybe they are a meditator, because I think of these as like extended visualizations where you're really putting yourself into another world and interacting with your MS or your symptom through the visualization, versus like I'm sitting still and trying to, clear my mind and let the thoughts pass. You're actually building this world and building these thoughts, and the thoughts are coming, and it's actually really profound. And so I find that really great. I like lots of different types of meditation, but I had never done a meditation like this, so discreetly focused on the MS, on the symptoms, and on like my relationship to my symptoms. So I would say that's an amazing part of the program. But of course, like I touched on before, just being in a room with other people who really get it, and being able to talk and like share resources and just like share support and say, I've been there, or that's happened to me. And just that at the level of empathy is just so strong. Everyone's so supportive and amazing.
And open. Yeah, it's really been amazing to see the groups, because I mean, I've had you're in the UK, and your first group was UK, England, right? I mean, I'm sorry, Wales, England, and Ireland. So you guys were all sort of in that area, and it just happened to be that way. Now you're in Wales, but all the rest of your group is from the US, is in the US. And then I've had group with an Australia woman, and like a woman in Prague, and a woman in Canada. So it was like there's been groups from literally all over the world, but it's so cool to see how women connect.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter where you are. It's just the experience of living well with MS, and like how can they shift that experience? And so that's been super cool. And to go back and touch on the meditations, what I love to say about that is it really is like a visualization of what's possible for you, right? Like what is possible for you in your body. So would you say that has actually translated to you living with it now, like how that has shifted you?
Yeah, I think there's an underappreciation for how closely like your mental capacity for dealing with MS and the physical manifestation of the symptoms are. And so through you, I found the work of Louise Hay, and there's just all of this like supporting documentation that the way we think and the way we talk to ourselves and the way we are either gentle or harsh with ourselves actually physically manifests in our symptoms. And so I will say that I talk to myself in a much, much kinder, different way. And I'm able to like, I still have symptoms every day, but they don't, it's not so much of a fight against them. It's like, okay, how are we going to work together to get what needs to happen today done in the easiest way possible? And so I would say that is a huge mental shift for me that has played out then in like me not being so resentful over my limitations.
Yeah. I think when you first came to the MS stage back in the fall, you had a lot of resentment towards it. And I wasn't sure, to be honest with you, if you would go on to level 2, like I didn't know that you would come back, because I was like, she's really but you really worked through it. And now I feel like you're experiencing like a whole new existence because of it, which is so powerful. And the power of the mind body spirit connection, and I think that is what is important here to circle back to about the MS stage, is that there isn't another type of support group out there that I know of that does all the realms, right? Like, yes, they do yoga. There's like a yoga thing, or there's like a nutrition group, or just a support group in general that gathers for people to talk or whatever. But this touches on all the mind, body, and spirit, and the importance of that, which I don't feel like people really, because they're like, yeah, I got to go take this class, or I got to go to the acupuncturist, or I got to do this, or I got to do that.
And it's free. You think of it as like a separate piece of the pie, instead of saying, oh, all of these things need to be integrated, because we are not robots. We are not compartmentalized human beings. We're with our thoughts, we're with our emotions, we're with our body 100% of the time. And that's like a nice, that integration is really a lovely thing. And like you said, I haven't seen it in any other offerings either. And so I think that's a great niche that, like, that's meeting a need that isn't currently being met.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I think that is the crucial thing about this, about what we do here. And I mean, I think like we were saying, the mind, body, spirit connection, and how that has changed people's relationship with their MS, right? Like, with how, like, now you might talk to your symptoms like they're your friends sometimes, right? I mean, now that we've named them, you've named them, not me. You've just learned how to name them. So can you share a little bit about that experience? Like, just, you don't have to share the names, but just what that is like for you now that you've named them, given them a name, you've seen what they look like, and kind of experienced that. Like, now on a day-to-day basis, how does that help you?
Yeah. And I think it's really tough without having like gone through the process. It sounds really juvenile. It sounds really strange. It sounds like, why would this be helpful? But it actually is, because in some ways it externalizes. It's like not your fault that you're having these symptoms. It's not that you've done something, whatever it is. It's like, okay, I'm just going to speak nicely, ask my body to like comply in whatever way, relax my body. Because I think a lot of times when I especially would get like bladder urgency or something, I would then just go into this like panic mode, instead of just being like, okay, what are the options? We're okay. We're going to slowly take our time. We're going to make it to the bathroom. It's going to be all right. And that actually then like triggers the parasympathetic nervous system. You're actually not in this like flight or fight mode. You're just like, okay, let's work together. And it works, because
then
you
calm down.
Calm down. And then of course, anytime you're mentally stressed, that's causing inflammation in your body. That can cause a symptom flare. And it is so counterintuitive, I think, especially for someone like me, who's like a type A go person, who it seems like this is a personality type that is really common in women with MS, people who are, have high standards for themselves and are really tough on themselves. And it's all about saying, okay, what can we work with here? How are we doing? How can we together get ourselves to do the things we have to do in a nice, calm way? I think that's such a nice thing about all of it in the MS stage, is that it's all about like being really kind and gentle to yourself, which is not the easiest thing. It is still a work in progress for me.
Of course. Yeah. And then there's days, of course, where you get frustrated, right, on certain things. But now I feel like you're handling those moments differently than you used to, right? And yes, you do other work as well. It's not like you only do the MS stage. I get that. You do other meditations. You do all your things. But with the relationship now with your symptom, right? Now that you've named them, do you feel like, because you can have that conversation, it can calm you down quicker than it used to, and then like calm your symptom down in turn a little bit quicker, right?
Yeah, like I said, it's because it's like this externality where you're talking to them like they're another person or another being, instead of it being like, oh my God, why am I struggling with this. Why is it me? Why, or, you know, it's easy to like associate blame or to just be really negatively frustrated. And said it's more like, okay, we're going to empower ourselves to think creatively, to take a breath, to calm down and just do, you know, do what you can slowly, deliberately. Like,
and ask your symptom, like, what does it need right now? Like, you know, why are you frustrated, or why are you acting up right now? Like, what do you need? I just want to answer somebody's quick. Coach Ms., I'm going to answer your question. Yes, this is a group for women with MS around the world. She asked, didn't realize this was for women. So yes, this is for women around the world. So yes, Gina, I think it's super powerful. I think it's so awesome. Can you talk a little bit about what has happened? What other things have happened in your life? Like, you got invited to do things that you didn't know you could do anymore, and things like that. Like, could you talk about it opening up a world of new possibilities and how that has shifted?
Yeah, I think the same thing with like how your body and your mindset are so closely intertwined. It's like once you start on that process to being a little more open to what's out there, good things come to you. So I used to be super active, long distance cyclist, hiker, rock climbing, all these activities that I really put on pause. Even my yoga, I put that on pause for over a year before I was ready to like come back and say, okay, how can I reassess and do more yin and do more chair yoga and do more gentle yoga? It took me a long time to get to that point. But once I opened myself up to how can I do things differently, I realized that a lot of the things I had put on the back burner they just kind of crept up and said, hey, hi, I'm here. So I like went rock climbing several times with the Wales MS Society, which was amazing. I had no idea that I would be physically able to do this, and they were amazing. And I've gotten, I don't know, just in touch with so many incredible people. I'm writing this cookbook because we do talk a lot about nutrition, and of course there's a lot of options out there, but the number one thing is if you change your diet to be more healthful, you will feel better, you will, will sleep better, you will have more energy, and so it's just been really exciting to then say, okay, how can I work my way back into these creative projects? How can I work my way back into these physical hobbies? And it just looks different. You know, it's not like the old me, but it's like the things the old me loved to do and the way that the new me can do it.
That's such a beautiful way of saying it. I do feel like so many women get diagnosed with them. I mean, everyone, I'm sure, but my experiences with other women. And so I feel like so many women are on a certain path, right? And then they get diagnosed, and then they go through the grief and the anger and all the things. But then they're like, well, I can't possibly do that anymore. Like, I can't go back to that. But what if there was a possibility? What if there is another way that you can do it, but just differently, like you said? And so I think it's so beautiful and it's so profound. I got chills just now. I think it's so amazing because I feel like you guys, all of you, everyone that's gone through this program has had, whether it's a career shift or just a possibility of things opening up to a new world, of them living really your true selves, like living back in the way of your true essence, right? Which is what actually led me to creating the MS stage to begin with, is living in your true essence. And then by doing that, you're actually living the life of your dreams in a lot of ways, and being able to do the things that you absolutely love to do, even though they might be a little different.
Yeah, and MS has a way of really putting everything into perspective. You're like, oh, is important. I cannot even begin to do everything anymore. I have to be really deliberate and focused on it. So yeah, opportunity to say like, okay, what was, you know, what is my heart of hearts saying I should do, and to figure out a way to do it, because the universe provides when you put the feelers out and you say, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to figure out, you know, how to get more of whatever it is that makes your heart sing in your life.
Yes, I absolutely love that so much. You're totally speaking my language. I think it's amazing. I think the work that you've done at the MS stage, and obviously not at the MS stage, but just because of the MS stage, the work that you're doing in your own life too has just opened up a whole world for you. And it's just so awesome to watch. It's so cool. So let me see. I have a list of questions. I mean, we touched on a lot of this. Let's talk a little bit about the hero's journey and describing your, like, we talk a lot about the hero's journey, which is, for those of you who don't know, is written by Joseph Campbell, and it's like going on the hero's journey is going from, you know, to answering the call, which is the first step of coming into the MS stage, to going to the return, which is the returning to your true self, which we were talking about. So I would say, you know, you answered the call to come into the MS stage, and, you know, in your words, how do you feel like you've rewritten your story with all of it?
Yeah. I mean, my story is so wild because I moved to the UK in March 2020. And then the pandemic happened and we were in lockdown, and then I had all these symptoms that I wasn't really getting checked out, and then was diagnosed in April 2021. And I spent a lot of time being really like scared, sad, lonely, and frustrated with this diagnosis, in a place that I thought I was gonna, you know, make friends and really build a new life. And so I know the pandemic put a wrench in everybody's plans, but for me, it just felt like really terrible. And so when I was finally ready to crawl out of that hole and say, okay, like, I'm done wallowing, I'm gonna put myself back out there, I'm gonna figure out what, you know, what I can do. And I was really trying to say yes a lot more, because nothing good comes from just like hiding yourself away at home. Even though, like, it's a kind of the beauty of online programming, is that you can see the world, meet people, do the work, and not have to leave the house, which is miraculous. And so I guess through the MS stage, it was like, let's play, and let's take all of us with us on the journey, because, you know, this is not an acute illness. It's not like we're going to wake up tomorrow and be, you know, cured of MS. It's something that you bring with you through whatever lens you choose to see it on, with you on your way. And so, yeah, I guess for me, it's just been more about acceptance and self-acceptance, and being more excited and forward thinking rather than like worried. There's a lot of fear and the uncertainty that comes with symptoms that come and go, and was wondering, like, how will I deal with this, or what will this look like? And so I think I'm just better equipped to say, okay, if I'm having symptoms, that's fine. I can ask for help. I can slow down. I can talk to them. I have just like more tools in my toolbox to, which makes me a lot more confident and a lot bolder in my decisions about the things that I choose to undertake. I was talking to you, I was in London for the first time since before the pandemic, and it is really scary. And I did take my wheelchair, and my husband was awesome, and we made it work. It just looks different, and it is, it's not ideal, but I did it, and we had a great time, and
yeah. You what?
I said, I can't wait to go back. It was great.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. That's awesome. I was going to say, because you touched on that, I was going to ask you, how is your relationship with your husband shifted since the MS stage, because of your confidence coming back slowly but surely, and your anger dissipating and grief towards MS? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, not anger towards him, but just the MS and the diagnosis, which is totally normal. But how has that, or has it shifted? I mean, I can't presume. I don't know.
He's a huge cheerleader. He's amazing. He has always been like, we're gonna figure out a way to do whatever it is we want to do. He's just been super supportive, and has been way more optimistic even than I was about, like, we're gonna get through this and it's gonna be fine. Because it is really tough when you're diagnosed. There's all of these like racing thoughts about, like, I'm going to be a burden. I'm not going to be able to do anything. I'm not going to be able to contribute. I'm going, there's just so much racing around your brain. And so I'm finally at a stage, I think, where I can see the optimism that he's been, like, you know, carrying this torch of, it's okay, we're going to figure it out, we're going to make it happen, we're going to make it work. And that's been really nice to be like, oh, I get it, I see where you're coming from, and you're right, it's just about adapting and doing things a little bit differently. And you know, you can still have a great life and a wonderful relationship despite you know, a
Uh-oh, you froze.
oh no.
No, you're back. You're back. I see you now. You froze for a second. Okay, good. Yeah, it's so important, right? We can still find joy. And I think we talk about that in the MS stage too. And that actually, what came to me now is the switch exercise, right? Learning to go from anger to joy or frustration to ease. So can you talk about your experience with that a little bit too, with the switch exercise, which actually, for those that don't know, the switch exercise is something that I created that's it's movement with our emotions. So and you can learn more about this. I have a lot of videos on my Instagram feed about this, but it's teaching my students to move with their emotions and switch their emotions so that your body and your cells feel what the good feelings feel like, so that they can start to shift into the good vibes, right? And learn how to do that. So can you talk about that experience a little bit too?
Yeah, at first the switch exercise was actually kind of hard for me because it's not like you're learning a dance or that you're like embodying the emotion, like what would it look like to dance as sadness. It's like, okay, can you feel sadness in your body, and how does that naturally manifest itself in movement? And so really do have to get out of your head and into your body to successfully do this. And again, it seems like a really simple thing to do. Put on some music and, you know, dance by letting joy in or letting frustration in. But it's actually a pretty big place of vulnerability to be able to embody and feel those emotions and feel them physically. And there's been, you know, lots of tears when we're unpacking some of the switch experiences, and it's nice to have a safe space to experience all of these emotions that we all have anyway, but may be suppressing, or like, you know, you put on a happy face or you just grin and bear it or you just get on with life. It's like, no, actually we're going to take some time and feel, what does it feel like to you know, be angry, to be frustrated, to be sad. And yeah, I feel like I've grown to like it a lot more over the course of the weeks. And it's also, you have a great playlist. Like, it's so nice. Like, it's just such like uplifting, lovely, positive message music to that you can't help but like, you know, do a little shimmy and like get into the groove.
Yeah. Well, and to touch on when Gina first started the MS stage last fall, she would do it seated. The switch exercise. She would do it seated, and now she's actually moving with the songs, which is super amazing because the people do it seated. I mean, I've given talks locally here, and the whole group did it seated, and it was super impactful for them. I mean, they all had shifts, and one woman's foot moved more than it's ever moved before. So like, it works even seated, and you can attest to that. But it's been so cool to watch your transformation go from seated to now moving, and that's super powerful, and incredible. So I love that you talked about the power of the emotion and getting into the body. And yeah, it is hard, but it is actually super simple when people break it down. They just don't, a lot of people don't realize, right, how easy it actually is. You just have to like get out of your head, which is our worst, can be our worst enemy and also our best friend sometimes, depending on how we like to look at it. So let's see. I'm looking at my questions. I'm moving my camera so I can see my questions. Was there, let's see. I mean, is there anything else you feel like I'm missing that you feel like has been really important for you?
I think like the accountability, having like a set like day and time, you know you have this appointment, you know it's gonna, whatever it's gonna be like an emotional roller coaster with people that you end up really trusting and opening up a lot to. Like I would say I know a lot more about like the desires and the fears of the other women in my group than I know even of like some of my friends, because you just can't but like, you know, trusting, and it's a very it's a space that you're allowed to be vulnerable in, and so that's just been really nice.
Yeah, and the witnessing of other women too, which I feel like is really powerful. Well, I know is powerful. I feel like it actually witnessing and being witnessed by other women, and then being framed by other women of what they're experiencing when they witness you move your body. That's actually incredibly powerful for people to hear how it made other women feel. So it's actually helping you grow too. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is I guess like you come in and you think, oh, this is going to be really scary to like move on camera and have other people, you know, watch you. But it is such a judgment free zone, and everyone is just, it just brings out a lot of joy, I think, to just like move freely and then be able to talk about it or like hear what other people saw. And a lot of times other people will say things you're like, oh, I didn't know that that's, you know, that's how that looked. But you're like, oh yeah, that is kind of how I felt. Or like, oh yeah, that did happen for me. That did come to mind. It's yeah, you're right. It's really it is really, there's something really powerful about being witnessed.
Yeah, cool. So, what would you say, and this will be my last question, to a woman, okay, who is like, I don't know what the heck this thing is, the MS stage, and like, why would I want to do that? Like, or they're like thinking about it, but they don't know why. You know, they're like haven't fully pulled the trigger yet. They're thinking about it. They're scared. They're lonely. They're going through they're recently diagnosed, going through the rigmarole. They don't have to be recently diagnosed, but I feel like a lot of women who've been coming lately have been recently diagnosed within the last few years, and that's impactful, I feel like, for people who it's newer for.
Yeah, I think that's because it's just such a big diagnosis, and there is such a ramp up of like, what is this? How am I going to be? How do I interact with this? And so I think this is a really unique way to unpack that. There's tons of support out there for people with MS. And so I think the MS stage is suited for people who are willing to take that step of vulnerability, because you have to participate. It is not like, it's not the type of group you just turn your camera off and sit in the background and say, okay, watch. Like it is full of active participation.
Yeah.
Say anyone who is willing to take that step in vulnerability, and who has the desire, I guess, to see their body in a different light and is ready to make that. Because I do think that there is that like getting over the hump to a place where like, now I'm ready to take action to get mental and physical health on the same level, because you are going to get out what you put in.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, because you have to do the work. I mean, the MS stage, it's not like you have to like, it's not like you have crazy homework every single day. And I'm not like riding you about that, but I am holding you accountable, and you are in charge of doing the work. But I think people see the value in it as the show goes on, for lack of a better phrase. Yeah. So I guess, how do you get somebody over that hump, right? Like, what would you say to them?
Yeah.
Be like, no, do it. Like, it's, you know, I mean, because one of my students right now just was diagnosed like 6 months ago, which was amazing, because she's very new to the whole thing and unpacking a lot, as you say. And so that takes a lot of courage to make that leap so soon, and to be like, no, I want to go all in, and I want to go ahead and get this figured out, kind of thing.
line with that. And I would say that maybe there's the people, I mean, you yourself have talked about not really reckoning with your diagnosis for years. And you know, like everyone's on a different timeline for when they're ready to do the work and when they're ready to talk about themselves and when they're ready to be in a space with other people who are MS. So, you know, I would say if you're on the fence, then you're probably ready. And if you're feeling like this is not for me, then, you know, give it some more time until you feel like maybe you're more of a fence sitter.
Fence sitter. I love that. You always have the best phrases. Okay, so would you like me to draw you a card? This is another thing we do at the MS stage. We draw a card from the Hero's Journey Dream Oracle card deck, which is like our little, we do this at the end of every class because I like to draw a card that well, I don't know. I just draw a card because it's whatever the people, the women in the group need to hear at the time. Like it always ends up working out to be the perfect card for whatever. So I will ask for support for Gina and what does she need to hear right now. And I will also ask for women who are curious about the MS stage or on the fence, as Gina said, about the MS stage, what would they need to hear as well? Okay. Knights, oh, I love this. Oh my gosh. Knights of the Round Table. Let their love lift you higher. That's what it looks like. I'll read it to you. This is a good one, actually. It's perfect. They're always good. Okay, so this is a great quote from Denzel Washington. Show me a successful individual and I'll show you someone who didn't want for positive influences in his or her life. I don't care who you are or what you do for a living. If you do it well, I'm betting there was someone cheering you on and showing you the way. So the message is envision the people you most admire now and throughout history, seated at a round table with you and your life as their sole focus. Allow your personal Knights of the Round Table to offer guidance on your current circumstance, goals, and aspirations. Lean on their strength, knowing it is a sign of courage, not weakness, to be buoyed by visible and invisible ones who love you. Feel the unique way they infuse you with a direct transmission of wisdom from on high. Marinate in their individual and collective brilliance. Allow yourself to feel, sense, and see genius gently yet powerfully wrapping itself around you, lifting you higher than you could ever do on your own. Woo! The mantra is, with my personal Knights by my side, I am protected, loved, lifted, and carried.
That's perfect. My word of 2023 is interdependence, and I feel like that card really sums it up perfectly.
That's right. Yes. And allowing support, right? Allowing support. And we talk, I just got chills again. We talk about this at the MS stage too. It's like, if there's a lot of us reject the support or get angry at support because we don't want to feel like we need it, right? We don't want to feel like we need people's help, which is super common amongst MSers. But this and the MS stage, I mean, this is like perfect for people who are on the fence, right? It's like, no, go. Like, allow this group to support you and be there for you and lift you up higher, which is literally what this, let their love lift you higher. So all those who love you, including the women of the MS stage, I mean, it really is such a support system, and it's super powerful what we do here. And it's why I ask women like you to give testimonials, because I'm like, it's hard to even put into words, but it's wonderful to hear women who have actually done it, their experience of it in your own words. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Megan. This was fun.
Thank you for being here. I'm so thrilled. And yeah, I'll be seeing you soon. We start level 2 in the next few weeks. So yes, we're on a mission to keep going with the work. I love this. So thank you guys for joining. And Gina, I'll see you next time. And have a wonderful Monday. It's nighttime there. So enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Bye, guys.